Welcome back to the Dr. Mo Show, where we talk about the freedom to shift. Today, I have Dr. Shideh, who is emergency medicine trained, but completely embraced a shift. So I want to hear from you what you did, what you do now. And we have to continue the story that we started before I hit record, because that
That
one was
sounds
so
good to
good.
me. So I am an emergency medicine doctor, and I have done academic emergency medicine for the majority of when I started my career, ending all the roles. I was a medical assistant medical director and associate medical director doing operations. I did fellowship director, all the kind of roles that people, so both the education and operations side. Really enjoyed it. And then I actually didn't leave emergency medicine completely like burnt out. I was working through COVID. I enjoyed working through COVID and started um, coaching during that time because my intern here as an emergency medicine doctor, I had received coaching after I had a traumatic brain injury. So I fell the day after my wedding. It's a super long story, but long story short, we were in India getting married and we got married, went to the Taj Mahal. It was like the day after brunch. I fall off of like an 8-foot ledge, landing on my head. I'm married into like the only Indian family that has no other doctors other than me. And I had a subdural, pneumocephalus, epidural, and a temporal bone fracture, and like broke my clavicle too. And my husband of a day and my parents were like, no, don't. And we were in a place called Agra, which is sort of an underdeveloped city in India. And they wanted to do neurosurgery. And my parents were like, no, not here. And also don't intubate her. And they had to get me airlifted to New Delhi. And then they did that. And because I didn't decompensate in the 6 hours it took me to get airlifted, they just rescanned me. It hadn't progressed. And so here I am, no neurosurgery later. And my mom in that first year was like, you need to hire somebody to help you through this. It's not a therapist. I know this guy. He's a coach. You should talk to him. So I like talked to the guy because all I was wanting to do was work all the time. So he taught me about coaching. He taught me about neuroplasticity. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, why didn't anyone never teach me this stuff? Like about anger, like why I was so angry and like what anger meant and all these other, like, so all these tools the only tool I really was really adept at is like working hard. And that tool
Mhm.
I've gotten down. But like these other tools he taught me, and I was like, this is amazing. My retirement career is going to be doing marriage counseling with couples using these tools. That's what I'm going to do. Didn't think about it, put it on the shelf. The first year I was an attending, I decided to take his course to learn how to be a coach, but was like, this is just because I'm interested in this. I'm not going to do anything with it. So that's like 2007 or so, or no, not 2007. I don't know, 2010 or something around there. Fast forward to COVID and like, yeah, I mean, we're in Rhode Island. Everyone's doing really poorly. Like, it's a very old population, second oldest population in the country. Lots of multi-generational families living on top of each other. Bad spread, very dense population. And our group was like kind of having a really hard time. They'd actually done like some survey beforehand, and our group had 10% suicidal ideations before COVID. So you can imagine, like during COVID, all of that got exacerbated. And I just thought putting together programming, not even like think, I was like, oh, I know what people need in times like this when things are really hard and grueling, you need tools. And so I started doing that and they were asking me to do some wellness stuff. And I was like, I like want to work for the institution doing wellness stuff because it sort of seemed more like an academic exercise and like delivering coaching, which was like what I really wanted to do. And so I decided to open a coaching business and I did that for a little time working full-time EM and that. And then I was like, I need a set schedule because I can't like the amount of schedule shuffling, like that was not great. And they were like, well, you could work weekend overnights. I don't want to work weekend overnights. I've got 2 kids. I like to play tennis. I have a husband, like all the things. And so I started looking for a different job for a set schedule, like only for that. And I found this job at a community health center, which I really enjoy. I work 2 days a week doing that. And then all along everything, what we were talking about before is I sort of always had this mindset and it got really like, now I like teach it to everybody who's in emergency medicine early on. And I tell them emergency medicine is a little bit like being a Marine. It's like really grueling hours, really high cognitive load. And it's like such an honor, but you're not in the Marine for like 40 years. No one's a Marine for 40 years. You go and you serve for 10 years, 15 years, and then you get out and you use all of those skills that you've learned somewhere else doing something else. And so I sort of had that in my background. So I bought some real estate in that time. So I like self-manage a bunch of real estate. I run my coaching practice and I work clinically 2 days a week. And it's like the perfect mix because I actually really love patient care. And it also reinvigorated my love for patient care because I ended up getting a grant to study lifestyle medicine because that's something that like I want to help people systemically get better. And I also like in my coaching practice, I work with these high performers talking about how to handle high pressure jobs, which like emergency medicine is so much of that. And I just think it's like such a special place because you do learn a lot of things being a doctor. You, especially ER, like I tell all ER doctors, like you should think about opening your own business because
Uh-huh.
you're already so good at certain skills. You can build rapport quickly, right? Like you walk into a critical care room. Like if you walked into, I worked at Brown for a long time. If you walked into Brownie critical care bays, like they might be like, who the heck is this? But it could be July 1st. And like, oh, this is one of the new attendings. And you would establish control and trust within minutes of how to run a trauma, right? Like maybe you might have to ask questions like there's institutional things, but you know how to build rapport. Shifting priorities, like some days we have EMT coverage, some days we don't. Like, like you can handle that, right? Like you can handle that every day things are different. You don't need things to be that like those skill sets for running a business are so good. And then
Huh?
triaging priority, right? Like, like you're like talking to somebody who has appendicitis, blah, 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 and then like a stroke code comes in. I'm like, you know how to cut that off, go to the next thing, and then come back and finish the conversation about the patient, like what they should expect for surgery or whatever else it is. Like we have to delegate, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, if
You
you
can't
work in
do it
academic
alone.
medicine, yeah, you definitely can. You're just like, I need you to do this while I do this, and then check back in with me, closed loop communication, all those skills, like you have them. And so it's just such a natural transition. And you can use it to impact whatever you want to impact, right? Like whatever it is that is interesting to you.
And a lot of times that's in medicine. And people think, a lot of the docs I talk to are like, well, what do I know that people care about? Like they've forgotten that they're people, that they have hobbies or they have, and it's in the questions, when I was a med student, and when we're deciding on specialty and you have the reasons, right? Oh, this is shift work. So that's good. The reasons, we don't make decisions based on knowledge. We make decisions based on emotions. And the question I always used to ask medical students, I have a lot of medical students who follow me and listen to the podcast and such. And they ask, well, how do I know what specialty? I said, where do you hang out when you have time in the hospital? Where do you hang out? And I always hung out in the ER. Because I'm always emergency medicine. That's how my brain thinks. It's all, like you
Mhm.
said, it's how it always will think. I'm thinking a worst case scenario. How do we keep this person safe? How do we make their life the best it can be? And sometimes safety isn't about when they come in with a heart attack or a stroke anymore for me. Safety is about, where do my doctors feel safe to ask questions, to say, I don't like what I'm doing. I don't know what else to do. Can you help me?
Yeah. I mean, and you get to decide whatever that looks like for you. And it's a little bit coming back to yourself. When I work with physicians, I work across industry, just so you know, like in my coaching practice, I actually just work with anyone with a high pressure job, which
Yeah.
it tends to be like finance, tech, all the things. But I still do work with doctors. Some of it is going back to home to who they were. Like they forget, like that medical student was bright eyed, bushy tailed, had aspirations, had hopes, had dreams. And sometimes like you just get so tired and you're so that you forget about those things and that they matter, right? And that they also don't have to be full force and done. Like I also like, I work with a lot of people with children and women with children, especially like when you work with them, often they have a bigger role in the caretaking of their children. Like whether that should be or shouldn't be, it just like what it is for them is that it does. And so they think that like if they can't get from 0 to 100 in like, I don't know, 1 year, that like something's wrong with them. But it's okay to like sometimes just keep the embers of your dreams
Alive.
alive while your kids are young. Maybe they're still at home, they're not in school yet. And then when they go to school, you can like fan that flame a little bit more. And then eventually, oh yeah, the house, like, and then you can turn up the gear and you get to decide that based on what you want, not what you think you should be doing. And I think that's the part that like people build these like artificially short runways for themselves that
Yes.
actually cause so much stress in their nervous system. Like it's like, and then they just give up. And it doesn't have to be built super quickly. It can be built on your timeline, on your whatever you're looking for.
I can't agree more. One of the things that I tell docs a lot that I talk to, that, they'll say, oh, no, I'm good at my job. I'm like, well, the best time to grow is when you don't have to, because you're not going to be. I mean, someone told me this probably 2 months ago now. Every job has an expiration date. That floored me, right? Because when we think, I kind of expected to be in the emergency department forever, working. I don't know. I don't know. And we get my cat saying hi. This is what he does. We have
A booty
mascots.
shake.
Yes. saying hi with your tail. And if you're listening on the podcast, go to the YouTube, go to watchdrmo.com because you can see my cat tail every episode. It's just what we do. So
Signature look.
it is. It is. It's the signature look. And the other cat is actually, he sits behind me. You can't see I can't move my camera, but he sits behind me on the chair, which is why my chair is smushed in the front because he has to have room to snuggle behind me, make sure I'm okay, make sure I'm
We
supported.
have to know who's boss.
Yes, exactly. I get the end of the chair. So, but yeah, I tell doctors the best time to grow is when you don't have to. Because imagine, I do have a couple of clients where they sort of burned the boats, right? So they have to get this done pretty quickly. It's doable, but like you said, it fires up your nervous system. There's pluses and minuses to both, right? Because we know that not procrastinating, you actually get work done. But you can take deliberate, intentional action that is over time. You don't
Totally.
like we were talking about steps and activity and keeping active. I can't go to the gym this week and expect to stay fit for the next month. It is something you have to do every day. It's upholding
Totally.
standards. It's not, you don't, like you said about real estate, we're all looking for passive income somehow, right? Because we're so tired. Like I said, our souls are tired that we're looking for passive income because we just want to sit on the beach somewhere and never talk to anybody ever again, which is not the case. But it's what my brain says that I want. Totally not the case. I'd last about a week and a half and then have the pool boy working for me. So, but when you talk about that longevity in emergency medicine or any medicine, I mean, really any medicine, it's critical care. The shift workers, especially my book that I'm editing now it's called Freedom to Shift, same as the podcast, because shift work is tiring. Our souls are tired. Medicine is tiring. And the system won't change in time or ever. I don't know. So tell me your thoughts on that. Tell me your thoughts on burnout versus
I just think that, first of all, the first part that I think we do a disservice to, I think there's a part of medical school where money is not part of the conversation. And I think that that's a massive disservice to everybody because money matters. It doesn't and it's a very important part of, and it's not about getting rich and get rich quick, but you want to feel like you have enough money to be able to take care of yourself. If you have a family, take care of your family, all of those elements of it. And so that is something that is left out of the conversation. So then a lot of doctors feel bad about even asking about money. And then they also don't strategize with their money either. They think it is, emergency medicine is where my experience is the highest. And it's this field where you we're going to be working nighttime with circadian rhythm changes. You can do pure nights if you want for a set schedule. A lot of moms do that. Or you can have this circadian schedule that once you hit 40, it's not good. And now in lifestyle medicine trained, sleep is the number one most important factor for your health other than your relationships. And a job like that really puts strain on both because when you are in that space, it's very funny. I talk to a lot of my friends who are REM and who have made different kinds of transitions. And there's all these realizations that come up about mindset shifts. One of them, her husband's an engineer. And she's sometimes I'm asking he's like, I have to work really hard tonight. Please don't, can you take the kids to bed? And he's and then when I see him working hard, he's just staring at a picture on the screen for an hour. And I'm what are you doing? And he's I'm thinking, I'm thinking about how to solve this complex problem. Something that we never do in EM. Can you imagine sitting there for an hour with a problem? It's just such a different thing to do. And you lose sight that maybe before you started emergency medicine, you could do that. Maybe you could sit down and figure out a complex problem or write a paper, right? But now when you are in this space that's super fast paced, your brain is not meant to work at that level of high octane when you're 55. It's just not. We can argue about it. We can and be up in the middle of the night. It's not good for you. It's bad for your cortisol levels. We know it all. But then it's somehow deemed a failure if you leave, right? And that's the problem that I think. I think every medical student should know kind of with all the jobs what the longevity is. Private practice psychiatry might have a longer longevity. Because what you want as you age is autonomy over your time, to feel like your work in this world is meaningful, and to have room and space for joy and relationships in your life, and your own health, right? Those are the things that people are looking for. Certain fields, that's just more crunch. I coach a surgeon, female surgeon, the reality is when you are a surgeon, if you are operating and something is happening in your home, Like your own kid could be coding. Your duty actually is to stay with the patient. And I'm not saying that like, it's like, I know that's like a very dramatic thing, but
No,
like,
but it's real life. It is
but
real
it's
life.
the reality of it. It's like
Yep.
it's not that you are a bad mom or you are a broken person. It's just like that is the duty, that is the level of responsibility. I actually had one client who said to me once, she ended up making a good transition for her. She said, I want a job that's a little bit more less responsible so I can have more responsibility in my family. She wanted to be more responsible for her children, not out of guilt, but like she wanted to be there for the slow
Yeah.
days and like to pick them up when they're sick. And there are
Yes.
jobs that allow you to do that in medicine. There are jobs outside of medicine that allow you to do that. You can create your own job. But the idea that like you, because you learned this one thing and you have to stay in it for the rest of your life, it's like a very specific to medicine one.
Mhm.
You know, like I know all these lawyers who have all kinds of different jobs. The
Yep.
majority of lawyers I know don't actually practice law. Like, like it's very funny. They do other things.
And that's
And they
okay.
also, it's like it's part of their development. Like, you
Hmm.
know, there some will say all for their whole career in law, but like a lot don't. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. But in medicine, we're so harsh to judge anyone who colors outside the lines in any way.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the how we keep people sort of in line because it's a pretty grueling system. It's a system that just like, you know, people feel like they're broken when they like hospitalists. I work with some hospitalists. They work these 1 week on where there's no reprieve for the entire week. They're working 12 to 14 hours a day for an entire week. And then they get another week off. But then they feel bad because they feel like it's so hard to get a handle on my life during that time. Well, what does a handle on
Mhm.
your life look like when you're working 14 hours in a day?
Yeah. Like you
I mean,
lose.
if you brush your teeth, I think you got a handle on your life.
I think you're kind of rocking it if you got out of bed, brushed your teeth, and maybe took a shower. And that's the thing, like, we don't give ourselves grace. I mean, it's a real new concept for me. Even in my house, we're both emergency medicine trained, and we had protected sleep for our entire careers. My mother gratefully moved close when we had our son so that we could continue to work as we chose. And we had protected sleep. I mean, that's the thing. I had protected sleep. I did Ironman races. I was very active. I mean, I'm still active. I don't do full Ironmans these days. It's not that active. Again, the cortisol, once you see the cortisol come down, you're like, ooh, I'm not so sure I want to push it back up there again. It's kind of
Yeah.
nice this way. But we did all the things. We've been married for 25 years, 26. We did the things to invest in our relationships and in our health. But I worked nights for 15 years. And in November, I was diagnosed with cardiovascular disease. And I was cleared by a cardiologist 3 years ago to do Ironman because they didn't do the right testing. And because I looked fine. Well, I didn't look fine. I was 50 pounds heavier. And there's a lot of other, I earned that disease. Let's just say that. But part of it is, do I want to continue down that road? Or do I want to make an intentional choice that might piss off the hierarchy? It might piss off my ego, which it did. It took me a year and a half to make that identity shift. I mean, the shift was made for me, but to actually embrace that identity shift, it took me a year and a half. And that's the biggest thing about coaching. And I'm sure you've kind of found the same, is that I don't want it to take that long for people.
Yeah. You want to give them a roadmap.
Yeah.
And the roadmap looks a little different for everyone, but like
Yep.
once they start listening to those voices inside them in themselves that know what they're yearning for, what is it that you're really yearning for? That's like the exact thing. And allow that voice to speak. One thing I tell people is one of the things I think it makes them shut it down is that like they think that if they allow that voice to speak, they have to act on it right away. You don't have to act on it right away.
No.
Just let it come, let it speak. Start listening to yourself and start like allowing yourself to request things for yourself, like decent sleep, time to eat. Like those are not unreasonable expectations.
Time to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Like, let me know if somebody codes. You know what I mean? Really, I
Yeah.
mean, it's reality. It is okay with 35 people in the waiting room to urinate.
Yeah. And the waiting room is only going to get worse. Let's like be super honest about that right now. Like the way our healthcare system is going. I mean, I don't know what it's like in Texas where you are, but in Rhode Island, like we don't have any primary care. The institution I work with just laid off 70 employees. Like there's because very few of them are providers, some physicians, but some MPs. But some of those too, another primary care practice closed down, leaving 70,000 patients without doctors. And when those things happen, like where are those patients going to end up? Like, and you can say like you shouldn't be in the ER without a cold if you have a cold, but if you have no PCP and urgent care is full, like people come.
Yeah. Where
And
else are you
urgent
going to
care,
go?
if you don't have the $40 or whatever it costs to go to urgent care, that's where they're going to end up. And and this is the new reality that we're going to live in. And we can keep trying to solve all the systemic problems with our own individual bodies, or we can like be helpers in that situation, which I think is like the way to go, but not like, but know what our limit is, because also that's also a recipe for resentment, right? Like when we keep giving from ourselves, expecting that when we need, that they will give back to us, right? Like if you've taken maternity leave, you know that they are not giving back to you. Like it is not a pleasant conversation in most places when people take maternity leave. I actually did have a very pleasant maternity leave experience, but I didn't really take maternity leave. I did like all my admin work from home. This was like a million years ago, and it was fine. But like I have been in those conversations. It's not great. Like it's a tough conversation. And so that's when the resentment starts showing. You're just like, oh, wait, I do all this. I come to all these, like, I do all this free labor that I don't get paid for outside of my time at work, which is fine. But I thought that you would take care of me too. I thought this was a relationship, and you realize it's not. It's not. And that's just, it's not a bad or good thing. It's just the way it is. And you can work to change it. That's not a bad thing to do.
Right.
But fighting against it, swimming upstream in it and exhausting yourself is not the way.
I agree 100%. A lot of people will say, "Oh, why aren't you lobbying or why aren't you doing this?" Well, that's not my choice for my time. I choose to spend time with the doctors on the ground, keep them on the ground for as long as we can if they want to stay. I mean, that's my goal, is really to keep as many people in emergency medicine because like you said, this is the new reality. And that patient who sees you doesn't know if it's your first shift that month or your 20th. All they know is, "I need help. You're here. Please take care of me." And if you have nothing else to give, you have nothing else to give.
And also how to take care of yourself in the ER. Like I think, like here's like, I don't know how many of your listeners are ER people, but I'm gonna tell them like my favorite basic tips. One is decide how many nights, especially if you're in academia where they have like a million journal clubs and all these other things that you can be part of. Decide how many evenings a week you are willing to give to work. And once you've decided that, set that as your limit. And so when someone offers you a journal club, come meet the grand rounds reader. And my limit was two or three, I can't remember now. It was like, I think it changed. It went down to two when I had kids. That I was not going to give the hospital. So if I had 3 to 11 shifts,
That
I'm
was
not
it.
going to go journal club that week. That was like my limit. That was my dose of hospital. That was enough evenings taken away from me and my family. And that's not a bad thing. Just like set your own limit. One. The other thing for doctors, our doctors especially, is that like we are meeting people in often like their worst day or what they think is the worst day of their lives. They're very scared. We're seeing like the cracks of society, right? Like the
Mhm.
broken, the traumatized, the like severe mental illness, all of that stuff is what we interact with every day. That's like a wonderful thing to be of service in that way, but it does drain your energy. And so I talk about a lot about like, and a lot of your doctors are good at the release portion. The release portion is running the Ironman. I run all the stress emotions, all the like I fought with ortho, I yelled at the trauma surgeon, that charge nurse hates me, like all that kind of like the angry emotions, the
Yeah.
big
Those
emotions
are
that
easy.
like those are easy. You run them out. But you also touch sadness, right? You like diagnose the 30-year-old mom with metastatic ovarian cancer and like you have to tell her, or like I had a case where someone I sort of distantly knew, I had to tell her she had a recurrent cancer right before her wedding. Like it sucks. Like
Yeah.
that's horrible. Those emotions like sadness, grief, all those things, those don't need release. They need
Mm.
resourcing. They need
Yeah.
comfort. And I think that's one that's really
Absolutely.
hard for ear doctors because to do that, you need to slow yourself down. And slowing ourselves down is really hard. And sometimes I need processing. And so like I don't like you can do deep I actually do like deep breathing, but like I don't think it's like a first step for most ER doctors. You have to get there. Your cortisol's got to come way down before you can do that. But you can like go for a walk and listen to music that like allows you to emote, because I think we've gotten so good at compartmentalizing our emotions. Like, and that's a wonderful skill set in the ER. Like, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
cry in front of that mom that's a 30-year-old with metastatic cancer. Like, you don't want to tear up and like make her feel hopeless, right? Like, that's not the goal of the care we offer. So we button it up, tighten it away. But like if you do enough of that, then it's kind of like an overhead compartment. Like if you shove too many things into it, it will eventually collapse on you. So you have to be able to access it again. And accessing it again, I don't do like you can journal if you want, but I think journaling, I would say for like your own problems, like in your own life, because it can be hard to sort of process. Like you need a lot of journals and a lot of time to
Sure.
write. But music is actually like a very simple way. Like you listen to one sad song, you cry it out, you let it out of your body a little bit, and then you restore comfort and like, maybe give yourself a little massage, get a massage, whatever it is you need to just resource yourself a little bit, like that to be okay again. but you actually have to do that work at some point, because when you don't, then you become cynical. That's I feel like I'm dead inside, which
Yes.
happened. I mean, I definitely had that feeling a lot of times in the year. I was like,
Oh,
am I
I
dead
have colleagues
inside?
who say it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. The funny part about that is I always jokingly, but not, say, especially toward the end of my full-time career, I had mascara that would last through 2 cries at work because I cried all the time. Not all the time, but I'm sorry, you pronounce a child or you have a trauma of a 13-year-old, that you just flew out or whatever. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I would
That's a lot.
I would go, I would sit out, and I actually got to the point at the end where I wasn't crying in the bathroom. I was crying at my desk. And people had no idea what to do with it. And I didn't care. And now it also slows you down, which does not make you the best emergency medicine physician because you're not managing the department the way you should be. Agreed. Should be. I like that. I'm shitting all over myself right there. But my biggest thing is I always went around and I talked to the nurses and talked to the staff and talked to the techs, the other docs. I said, hey, how is everybody doing? Is everybody okay? Let's pop into this room for a second. And I used to, in my younger years, call the chaplain in sometime for really significant cases, because I always thought that was part of my responsibility. I was the overnight doc, and for a lot of years, I was the only doc overnight, and that's what I cared about. I cared about people, not just the patients. It's why I actually am in the midst of the lifestyle medicine boards as well,
That's
and
so fun.
because that's my wheelhouse, right? That's why we get drawn here. Is like finally they have a specialty that has all of our things all in one.
I know. I love it.
So it's just interesting, and you do have to cry. It's got to be a physical process. It's a lot of emotion.
And you may have forgotten how to do it. And when some people really they cannot, I couldn't cognitize, I had a patient who died that I like a father in my neighborhood. I live in a small place, so around my neighborhood, really sad case. I mean, he came in dead, stayed dead, did everything. Cardiology did everything, just wasn't going to come back to life. A really sad story. And I wanted to be able to cry the next morning. I couldn't do it. I couldn't summon those emotions. But with music, for me, music was the thing that
Mm.
released it the easiest. But for some people, massage is actually a really good technique to release whatever's going on. And it might be a cry, it might be whatever, but you can release some of the tension in your body. And it's not so that you don't become numb, because when you become numb, you don't just become numb to the negative emotions, you also become numb to the positive emotions. Your ability to feel excited also gets less. And sometimes the only excitement you get is the high cortisol stress. And so then that kind of becomes the way you may interact with people to create excitement, is sort of this that. I mean, you see it in the marriages a lot, right? I talk to a lot of people about their marriages, and there's this sort of that's the only way they can feel, is sort
Yeah.
of these super high highs, which are not highs that are necessarily positive either. And it's just allows them to feel a little bit. And so, it's just it's like brushing your teeth. You just got to do it. Otherwise, the tartar and plaque build up. That's it. There's no sort of way around it.
Yeah. And it's got to be
And
a
what are your
consistent
plans for
surrender.
lifestyle medicine? Do you love it so far?
Yes. No, absolutely. When I found out about it, I was an athletic trainer before. I've been a triathlon coach for a bunch of years. I'm a certified sports nutritionist. I've always loved personal professional wellness. I've been a life coach. I wanted to be a life coach for the past literally 30 years of my life before life coaching was a thing. And this is they made this just for me.
I know. It's so awesome. I my goal with that work is to eventually so I like working with populations that are in a lot of need. ER now at community health centers. I don't know what many year goal, but my 10, 15-year goal is to bring some of that work into systemic policy changes at the state level and schools and things like
Amazing.
that, and workplaces.
And
But
I
I
think
just think it's so important to build
Because
a
I
good
think it's
foundation.
critically important. It's in that work that you will do, that you are doing, right? Because you're already doing it. I can guarantee when you see those patients, you're already doing it. And when it
Yeah.
goes to that top policy level, it makes huge change because the more people we affect, the more people we change.
And sometimes people will think you're crazy when you're doing it too. I will, for anyone who's thinking of making changes, many people, when I made the shift, they're like, you're crazy.
Mhm.
Thankfully, my husband and my parents were not those people. And now I look at my life, and then I remember I used to come back and sometimes do per diem in the ER, and they'd be like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm totally okay. And now when I even look, and I say this not as to be braggart anyways, but I look at the parameters of my life, my relationship and my presence with my children, way better. My relationship and presence with my husband, way better. My financials are way better. I do better financially and have much more trajectory for growth in it. And I feel like I'm living more into my values, which is so
Yes.
important, right? Like I joined the food committee at our school. Like I would led the food committee basically and was like, we have a community table program at our school. So we all had to eat the same food. And like I looked at that menu and I was like, I've taught everybody about the Nova scale. Maybe some other parents think I'm crazy, but that's okay. I don't want my kids or the kids at the school eating processed foods. If when we're paying a chef to come and make food for all these kids, put a few vegetables on there. We don't need veggie straws. Cut up some carrot sticks. It's not necessary. Veggie straws are like my enemy. Everyone knows that about me. Like I use that as my example of like so much confusion in the food marketing space towards parents, kids, and this concept of vanishing calories, like that they are made to be so hyper palatable that when you eat them, you don't at all have any like leptin response. So you just can keep on eating them. So you can eat a 2,000 calorie bag and not have any satisfaction, which is crazy. Whereas like if you have a burger, like you'll be full after
Yeah.
eating that or
Kind of
whatever
done.
it is, or like a chickpea salad. Anyway, so those are like all of my passion projects that I work on.
I
But
love
I
that.
love being able to do that stuff, you know?
And you have time and energy and space.
Totally. And I play tennis 3 to 4 times a week, which I love. I mean, that is my longevity plan to play
Well, and
tennis for the rest of my
you
life.
have a longevity plan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always my standard joke is that, and finances are part of that. And I'll move toward the end of this because I want to respect the listeners' time and yours. That we don't talk about, like you said, we don't talk about money. We don't talk about Bruno. We put him in a closet and we try to pretend he's not there. But he is there. I mean, money is, like you said, I'd like to pay my internet bill so I can do this and teach people. You have to. And with value, right? You know as well as I do that the things that you invest in, you value because
Totally.
money is energy. And it doesn't have to be dirty. It doesn't have to be, it just is what it is. And one of the things in my coaching, and I'm sure you do the same, and my medical practice as well, is I always try to keep my fees a third of what the value I provide because
Amazing.
that's kind of, like you said, that's like your night limit, your evening limit. That's what I do because that way I always know my side of the street's clean. It's funny that you do say that though about the evenings because I work and I do that now. Right now I'm taking a hiatus from shift work at all to finish my book and the second book. I'm like, one's already out, but the second one. And I have one night a week that I work with patients. We have a patient happy hour that we've been doing for, I guess, almost 2 years now. It's Wednesday happy hour. We hang out. Anyone that's a patient of ours in my lifestyle medicine practice, we just hang out and talk about issues and talk about nutrition and, just lifestyle, right? But that is my only weekend or my only weeknight that I schedule. I have one evening. I mean, is that not incredible for somebody who worked nights for 15 years?
Amazing.
Is
And
I
it's
work
living
on
into your values.
Yes.
I mean, and as you know, that in like how we live actually affects patient outcomes. We know that physicians who exercise and eat healthily, move their bodies, and sleep well are more likely to utilize those things. And we also know that there's a direct correlation between physician health and patient hemoglobin A1C. That's a crazy thing. Like that's
So
crazy
weird,
statistic,
right?
right?
Like we
I
think,
mean,
oh, what does it matter what I do? No, it really does matter because we are all energetically connected, first of all. And when you walk in and inspire your patient, just by walking in, having a bright face, bright eyes, you're hydrated, you had some fruit yesterday, whatever, like just being yourself. Don't you think that showing up in the world as yourself is really what the world needs?
100%. And also, like, think about you and me. Like, if you're an ER doctor listening and you're like, oh my God, I'm struggling, like, you're much more likely to reach out to someone like you or I than like somebody who has never worked an ER shift in their life, right?
Right.
Like, because you're like, well, they're not going to understand the context, right? And that same thing is like, if you don't know what it is to like how hard it might be to meal prep, like, right? It's hard to meal prep a little bit. Like, but once you get into the system of it, it's actually not that hard. And so once you have built it for yourself, it's a lot easier to help patients troubleshoot it too, right? Like, and like where the challenges are, and like you kind of have a much more lived experience of it, and people love that.
And I think that I agree with that. And we can't teach something. I always tell people, I don't tell people to give up coffee because I'm not giving up coffee. And therefore, that is the last thing. I will not tell someone to do something or give something up that I haven't done. That's the last vice. I'm not letting it go.
I do 1 cup a day.
And I mean, is it truly a vice? I mean, we can argue that till the cows come home. Most of mine's decaf anyway. It's more the ritual. Just the person who hates it the most is my dentist. But I'm like, she's like, just drink a glass of water in between each one of them. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll compromise.
We can do that. But
Exactly. But I agree with that. And I have found that over time that ER docs gravitate that like my road's getting narrower with coaching clients and prospective clients because when they see us and they're like, "Oh, she gets it. Like she did this." Yeah. And this is what the other side looks like. Do you have to leave medicine? No. Do you have to leave emergency medicine? No. Do you even have to go part-time? No. It's the
You don't have to
key.
do any of those things. You just have to build it the way you want it to look. But you get to choose how you want it to look. And you don't have to like always be built like I mean in medical school you build towards the next step always.
Right.
But then what happens at the very top when attendinghood is achieved, now it's your turn to decide what the next step is. It's not a regimen. And yet we can feel like we're regimented into doing it the way others have done it.
Or it's scary to see that like what's next. I have people that are like, "Well, I don't know what to do next. I have no idea." And for them to slow down and even ask that question. Like you said, even I love when you said this. Even if you hear the answer, doesn't mean you have to do it today. Just let it percolate.
I
So,
mean, I think that's the key there because otherwise we shut down our knowing,
yes.
right? When we feel like we have to act on it and we're not quite ready to do that, we shut it down. But like honor that voice, say, thank you so much. I'm gonna let this be here. Ask what's the next step. Talk back to the voice even. Like, well, what's
Right?
the next step I should take?
Talk back to
Right?
those
Like,
voices.
talk about the voices in your head. Some people call that source, spirit, creator, whatever you want to call it. You get to use that, but like you get to talk back to that. But don't shut out your connection there to your
No,
intuition and to your knowing.
100%. So, if people want to get in touch with you, whether they're executives, doctors, anyone who thinks, "Oh, wow, I think I need this." How do they get in touch with you? How's the best way?
So my website is probably the easiest way. It is my name, shidehshafie.com. And I'm sure that it'll be in the show notes, like how to spell my name, but it's SHIDEHSHAFIE.com.
Perfect. And to the listeners, thank you. And know that if you are out there and if you think, I can't work any harder, you're not alone. And you don't have to do this alone. There are plenty of us out there to talk to. Just say hi. That's it. Reach out, say hi. For me, the fastest way, I'm telling you, if you're watching on YouTube, this is the cat. This is the cat issue. If you're on Apple and you're like, why did she just pause? It's because there's a cat walking right in front of me.
Twice now.
Easiest way to get a hold of me is DM me on Instagram. It's the fastest way to get a hold of me. Stay safe, stay good, and don't forget you always have the freedom to shift.